So everyone here is with an interesting stake. So by the way, I should say a few words about myself, even though you know me, most of you know me. Andrei doesn't know me, but I'm many things at once. I'm also trained as a professional coach, and I'm a member of ICF, but as an independent coach now. I'm a Blue Ocean Strategy practitioner and also a facilitator for leadership transformational ontological leadership for organizational transformation. So all these three hats, they're different hats, really, very different hats, but together created the goal was, and by Blue Ocean, when I first heard about Blue Ocean Strategy in 2005, was to create the whole register of being able to work with a company from one person to a team to the company as a whole. And now with Blue Ocean Strategy, actually, it's going into the industry and shaping the industry as well. I have, as Ovidio mentioned, we were both together in Miami to do the Blue Ocean Strategy Practitioner Bootcamp and to get our name as in the Blue Ocean Strategy Practitioner group. And since then, I have worked in a couple tense projects for Blue Ocean Strategy. And now this program is actually the very essence and the top of everything that I have gained over the years and in Blue Ocean and otherwise in coaching. So it may be surprising that it's a rather short program. It's a 3-month long program in which the promise is that you'll redefine your practice and you'll come up with unique and valuable programs and services, and something that will make you to be easily recognizable as valuable and unique among the coaching community and for buyers. Because you know, coaches today, when you say I'm a coach, buyers already, it's like a red ocean, I'm gonna say it, of coaching, where pretty much there are very many coaches. As you look around, everybody's a coach. Like 10 years ago, everybody was a consultant, or 15 years ago, and who knows what's going to come next. So this is good because the industry is getting noticed and people are more familiar with coaching, but that creates an issue of differentiation and being better than the alternatives. Zygote. First of all, I'm going to say a few words about the name. The zygote is the first cell in a new organism. So anything new on the planet, any living thing starts with a cell, and that cell is called a zygote. And this cell is absolutely phenomenal because it contains the full genetic information of the adult organism. So that means that the biological future of the new organism, of the new entity, is set within the zygote. So the total gene, the genome and the gene makeup is set. Now, in business and any product and service and any company that has a portfolio of products and services, each product and service started with a zygote, started with that blueprint that had enough value, information about the value, the utility, and how it's going to be implemented, the costs that are involved in creating it, that basically led to shaping and to growing from a zygote to become an embryo, from an embryo to become a startup like a newborn baby, and then to grow, to scale up, to become a young adult, and then to have families and so on. So I took this because this part of Inception, this part of creation of the first cell of a product and service, and is something that deserves attention by itself. And if we look in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, you will see that you'll hear maybe incubators and accelerators. And what's interesting is that each one of those, especially incubators, assume that somebody handled the zygote part. So they handle embryos that they can nurse and get them to grow and to become startups, newborns, and then to go into scale-ups. So this part of Inception is a missing link in the entrepreneurial development, in the ecosystem of entrepreneurship development. And I say that also as a mentor in one of the accelerators and incubators, Innovix, which is one of the very respected and greatest in Romania. And I see that it's the same is true there. Everybody there has already an idea, has already something that they want to develop. So the question is, how does this apply to freelancers, to solopreneurs and freelancers, not just in coaching, but there is, and I looked at myself and I see myself as a lone wolf. I've worked for a long time just by myself. It's actually very recent that I started working with teams and having teams around me and with me to design products, to launch products, to do all kinds of things related to products. So I saw that for freelancers to go through and solopreneurs to go through a program of design, to design value, not to just say, I'm a coach, I'm an executive coach, I do this with people, people have this kind of results, I can do this and that, and my fees are. So it's how do you design a product that is a coaching product, like a company, like a service company would design its own product. And then through the experience that I had with Blue Ocean Strategy, I noticed that even companies that say we want to do a Blue Ocean Strategy, they rarely have a team capable to actually carry out the Blue Ocean Strategy type of and value innovation type of program, because it requires shifting from the operational into more the strategic. And it requires that there is some work involved. You'll see that in the 3 months, there is an exploration phase in which each one of us will actually go and have interviews and will audit so-called customers and so-called non-customers, those who are not interested in coaching or prefer the alternatives to coaching to do personal development or professional development. So the idea was to give freelancers the ability and the skill to actually design their own practice like a product designer that to do with a very large company like Apple or Netflix or IKEA or somebody that we admire and cherish. So this methodology, this approach, the Blue Ocean approach it's done by very few companies, even though it is available. And there is a book, there are 3 books, I believe, written on the subject. There are 4.7 million people that bought the book, but I know for a fact that out of those 4.7 millions, there are very few who actually opened the book and fewer who read the full book, and even fewer those who apply what's in the book. So Blue Zygote, the term blue comes from red, I mean from any other color of zygote you want, is that the Blue Zygote is a unique kind of utility that it's a unique product and service that addresses a new market, creates its own market, and it's a large market that is ignored by the mainstream industry. So that's why it distinguishes itself, Blue Zygote, from everything else. So that's the name. So the Inception Lab is that indeed, in these 3 months, you'll actually be creating, it's a lab. It's not a course. It's not we are in school and we learn Blue Ocean concepts or Blue Zygote, we do Blue Zygote as in school. No, this is a lab. It's an engineering, it's a genetic engineering lab for value. So the point here is to give to solopreneurs the power that only a very few companies in the world have to design, to do product design and service design and business design. Why did I start with coaching? Maybe you may wonder, because this concept doesn't apply just to coaching. We are working and we'll be applying Blue Zygote Inception Lab for coaches. And it is because you are, it's a familiar place and you are very close to me. I know you and I know the coaching world. And I know also the patterns and that when looked from the outside, that there can be some perspectives that definitely can make a difference. So it's kind of like creating a Cirque du Soleil between coaching and something else that you have as a professional, or as a professional in any field outside of coaching. Because some of you have come to coaching, like Daniela, you've come to coaching, but you're a professional. You've done something else before coaching, and you could create something that joins very well, very nicely coaching with your experience that you have from other areas. And for Andrei, coach, you can create a very nice Cirque du Soleil between coaching and dancing, and to bring the best from both worlds. And the same Leonard and Ovidiu can do also from entrepreneurship into coaching. And so that will give something, a value proposition that will have more of your color. So people, when can interact with you, they will sense what is that magic wand, that superpower that you bring to the table outside the technical facility or the technical expertise. Now, you see, when I say a business, what is a business? We can look at a business, and for many people, business is about making money. You know, you make a business so that you can make money. But actually, business can be a provider of value, a manufacturer of value that makes people's lives better. And actually, the success of that business, it shows, and the money or the hours that you put in, or however, it can show the impact that you are having. So it's not, when I say as a business, I don't say it just to make money. It's more than that. It's to create value. And you have to create value for yourself, but you have to create value also for the business, because if you only create value for the market, for the buyers that love your services, you have to have a way to provide that and to also live, you know, because otherwise you are becoming an NGO, which is fine. And then you go down from an NGO to becoming out, you know, to supporting the coaching practice from other more lucrative, you'll get to sponsor your passion in coaching. But there is nothing wrong with being passionate about coaching and having a practice. We can redefine the word business into a coaching practice. How's that? I went to Prague to the Converge conference. I had a workshop on Blue Ocean strategy on growing the business of coaching. And everybody in attendance said, we are not interested in growing our business. It was very interesting, because there is this belief that coaching it's outside the realm of business. It's like it's a passion. And my challenge to you is that this passion, to become a professional passion, it has to provide a particular kind of very rigorous value, and a value that is really perceived as such, and handled as such, and recognized as such. So this is a mindset about what it takes, and it takes more responsibility actually to have to design a product and to take coaching as a service, like you take your dentist. Okay, you have some rigor about the dentist, and it's not just the diplomas on the wall; it's the whole experience. How you get in, what's like to park in the car, they could get the reception desk, the environment, how the dentist works with you, how competent, how he or she does what she does. So it's a lot that goes on the moment you take on coaching, and to look at it as a service, as a professional service, not just from the perspective that you have a license to practice. It takes much more than that. And that will become very apparent in Blue Zygote Inception Lab, because we are going to look at coaching from the perspective of being a service. And the kind of service that coaching provides, it's not unique to coaching. I don't know if you realize, but people have managed without coaches very well, and manage very well without coaches, and get their lives in order and do personal development and professional development in some other ways. Any industry that has reached a level of maturity where there is norms and it sets the norms and it has standards and it has, it's been for a while and provides its services, tends to believe that the utility of what they offer is just particular to them. It belongs to them. Like the kind of development, personal development that I can get from coaching, that's only through coaching I can get that. Well, there are very many alternatives that I can get personal development. I can get personal development through training, through therapy, through ayahuasca, shamanic ceremonies in places in the world. I can get through my spiritual practice, through my religion. So I can get development not just through coaching. And if you think that only coaching can provide that, you are then, it will be very hard to come up with a service, with a product, and probably is gonna scratch your ears now. I realize when I say product or service, because that means belittling the very coaching essence and nature of coaching, which is very, very outside of the norms and outside of things. But actually, from the value perspective, it's an alternative. And it's very powerful to distinguish what makes coaching better than other alternatives and what make other alternatives better than coaching, and why some people prefer the alternatives and not coaching, and why some buyers prefer coaching and not the alternatives. And in doing this kind of research, which is not a marketing and sales research, by the way, the whole program, it's not about sales and marketing. It's about product design. Like, my question to you would be, if you would want to add a new service in your portfolio and to start it from nothing, how would you design it? And when I say that, that doesn't mean going to more schools and borrowing what they have, or using what's already created, or using the kind of services and distinctions that have been already made. You just want to create a whole new set of distinctions about coaching and to bring a new utility in what you offer that is unique, that is highly valued and appreciated, and that you will be doing it not from being inspired from what already is out there. It will be just your own. So if we are talking about like an electrical toothbrush manufacturer, and now this is abrupt, wait, from coaching to electric toothbrushes, yes, it would be the same question would be, what would be your next product that will be wow, and that will actually have no competition, and that will serve a very large group that is today underserved or ignored or not even looked at, which we are going to call non-customers, so that we have a term. How would you go about that? This is the kind of inquiry that gets at the heart of the genes. We're talking about the genes of value, like what makes coaching coaching? What is coaching? We'll actually be asking this kind of questions. In what business is coaching? And you're going to say on the face of it, what kind of question? The coaching is the business of coaching. Okay, but what is that? Because if you look at wine, for instance, okay, and I work with winemakers, and they have a very hard time, because when you ask the question, in what business is wine? They say, we're in the business of making the most sophisticated, complex, best tasting, and most recognized wine. Yeah, but you're in the business of making wine. That's one of them, but you're in many other businesses. In what business is the wine? It's a different question, because wine can be seen as something that is a state shifter. People drink wine to just alter their state, to be, to relax, or to get from tense to less tense. They can also be in the business of gifts. You know, wine can be a gift for others. Wine can be a numbing accessory. You know, you drink so that you can get numb. So it's an anesthetic. Or it can be a reason of pride and joy for a region. It could have historical, it could have a story around it. It could be like a historical and could have some sort of regional symbolism and symbolism. So wine is, from the utility perspective, why people buy wine is very diverse. And the same thing happens with coaching. Coaching is not just about the competencies and about what coaching does and the results of coaching. And this is going to be a very powerful question that to dealing with is in what business is coaching. And one of the things that I can say, I don't want to give, because it's not like I have the answers, because then there's no need for this program to be doing, then it's my program. But it's in that issues of being a state shifter. It's also in the business of state shifting. People come to coaching to shift from one state to another, so that there is a before and an after, whatever that before is and whatever that after is. So looking at coaching from the perspective of being a service that provides utility, and from a coach is to be someone who delivers and creates utility, and for the buyers of coaching, be someone who appreciate the value of what coaching has to offer, the utility, will redefine your business and how you view coaching. And you may see that part of the process of the Blue Zygote Inception Lab, which is an inquiry, it's very coaching, apropos, it's very close to coaching, because it's an inquiry where you start from the default state where everybody shares that commonalities of the sameness of everything else. And then you explore possibilities and where you could be, what coaching could be, and then you make a shift and then you implement and so on. There is a section exactly on the journey or the big inquiry. And the big inquiry, I'm going to show you what it looks like. We'll be using Blue Ocean Studio to actually go, just one second, to go through the full process of exploration, starting from what the world looks like today of coaching. Then we look at how customers interact with coaching, and we're going to see very clearly the kind of tools that we'll be using to visualize this. Then we'll explore the new markets, the new groups, very large groups of potential buyers of coaching that are not today seen. They're not on the radar for most coaches or for the coaching industry. And then from doing that exploration, we'll do also an audit to find out, based on the 6 paths, who are the type of non-customers that that are going to be part of the audit, who are going to be doing the interviews and the exploration with. We'll distill all this information by going through each of the 6 paths to come up with what's called a, I should have shown you before actually what it looks like. This is a kind of one-page diagram that shows, this is the case for the electrical toothbrushes, because I'm not, you know, if it was for coaching, then there would be a Blue Ocean done in coaching already, which is not yet there. So basically, the first we start to look at what are the utilities, what does the coaching industry invest in, costs and utilities to make it, and what are the strategies to do so. Then we go into the buyer utility map, where we look at those who buy coaching, those how coaching is delivered, how they make use or apply in their lives, what are the supplements needed so that they can actually successfully implement coaching in their lives, and the support, and then the end of a coaching cycle. So we go through all these stages, and this is what a Zygote looks like. This is the new Zygote. This is the shift. This diagram that we have here is toward the very end of the process, in which basically from all the learnings from customers and non-customers, we get to create a strategy for a product that actually is unique and that can be visualized very well here. If we are to map from where we started, the red line will get to this divergent Zygote with the utilities that will actually harness new, clearly the strategies call for different groups. They are appealing to different groups that from what everybody else is doing. The red is the typical profile of the industry today, the typical profile for coaches, for who they attempt to have as customers, as clients today. So this would be the blue line, which is divergent and all of that. There are some terms that you will see that it's clear that it's a divergent from the red, and has also created some new utilities that the coaching industry as a whole would not offer. So we are going to go through all these stages of, first of all, of revelation of the status quo of what is coaching about and how coaches compete with or have their strategy for growth and compete with each other and with the industry at the level of industry, what's important at the level of industry. Then we move to actually understand what customers of coaching have actually purchased, what's their experience from the acquisition of coaching till the end of a coaching initiative. And this is where we can find pain points. We can find some pain points that are not specific to any particular coach. They are specific to the industry. You know, if you talk about electrical toothbrushes, an example is the frequent charging. It's a problem, or the fact that I need a charger, or the fact that I have too many accessories. So there could be many things that coaches are not aware of that could be difficult for clients. And it can start from the offer that they make for a coaching initiative, for the contracting, then the delivery of the coaching, the implementation, and the make use of coaching in their daily lives or in their organizations, the support they may have or may not have during the in-between sessions and for the whole program. And then what is the end of the program about? What happens after the end of a coaching cycle? So these kind of questions are the kind of questions that a product or a service designer in any industry is asking themselves. And the non-customer group would be the groups of people that are not targeted for coaching, or they have been using coaching, but they are making some compromises with it. Those are closest to the coaching industry, the ones that are actually in coaching and having difficulties with that. If you do corporate coaching, you may see that even though the company pays for a coaching initiative, some coachees may come to sessions, others may not come, some may decide to do it longer, others shorter. All of these are part of the non-tiers, of the non-customer tiers of the new markets that you have to look at. Because even though they participate in coaching, they may not be 100% there. They may make compromises with the service. And generally, the industry is not aware of this kind of situations. So that's the process. We'll go through a couple of weeks to just get to see the status quo, what it is. You'll get prepared to do the interviews with customers of the coaching, and can be customers that you had in coaching, and with non-customers, with those group of people that have never considered coaching as an alternative, as something that could be useful to them. And so those who use maybe therapy, or they use any other alternative to coaching, to find out why they chose, why they prefer, what is it that they like about, what do they find useful about the alternative they are using. And why not coaching? And this way you can find out, and we can all find out, what is it that keeps them away? What keeps potential buyers away from coaching? You know, even today, for instance, if I used a lot of terms that you didn't know, that we can call that jargon, the dance jargon or blue ocean jargon or something, this can be something that can turn people off to getting us acquiring any new service like this. So it's a weekly work. We'll be meeting every week, and for 3 hours, the workshops are going to be 3 hours long, and there will be some work to be done between workshops. There will be some exploratory things. It's not homework like you go to a course and you get homework, but there are going to be some exploration that's going to happen between every single workshop. And the deliverable at the end of this is that, I mean, what makes powerful this program is that because all the participants are in the same industry, all the participants are coaches or becoming coaches or have some deep relationship with coaching, you can actually do parts of the process. The process itself can take longer than 3 months. It takes 3 months because simultaneously, several of you can deal and can research different parts that will be relevant to all. So if one of you does the research, what you find is relevant for all the participants, and what everybody else is finding is relevant to you. So because of this, we can shorten the time, the exploration time, to only 2 or 3 weeks, which is very short. You can have the multiplicity, which is you can have the options by working together. I don't believe in brainstorming, let's make a better electrical toothbrush. Let's do a brainstorming with the team that produces the usual team that produces the electrical toothbrush. They are going to come up with ideas of value improvements here and there, incremental changes. They cannot come up with a new paradigm. So the nice part of you being in this team is that you can actually create, this is not a brainstorming, you can actually do the kind of multiplicity and multiplicity of options by being together and being in the same field and having a theme that gets you outside, like the exploration that we talked about. Then you come back and you get to put together, to distill all the value that you actually found from the exploration stage, and you start to create your zygotes. You start to look through the inquiry of the 6 paths, which is a technical term in Blue Ocean, by looking at the alternatives, by looking at the functional emotional appeal. If coaching today, you may ask yourself, is it more functional or is it more emotional appeal? Which one? And if it's too much on one side, what can we make it more appealing or more attractive? If it's too functional, what parts of functionality can be diminished and what parts of the emotional part can be increased? And, I'm not going to go through each of the 6 paths because you're going to see them as you go through them. But basically, at the end of it, you'll have a blueprint. You'll have at least 6 diagrams that will represent a new product, a new service, a new offering. Maybe it's better to put it this way, for your business. And you will benefit from, everybody will work for you and you will work for everybody else. This is the beauty of having this work together. You are required to participate to all the workshops. So if you miss, you can miss 2 workshops, but you are responsible for coming up to speed with this, and there will be recordings, and there will be your teammates. You'll have the team that will support you, and but you are required to participate to at least, you can miss 2 out of the 13 sessions that we have, 13 or 14 sessions that we have. So so there is 3 hours a week, and there could be another 2 hours of extra work spread throughout the week. I don't know, however you see fit to get what needs to be done, the exploration that needs to be done from one session to the next. Is the promise that I make a pie in the sky something that, or is something grounded in a time-tested and time-proven process that is absolutely phenomenal, and it's in top of strategy for 10 years in a row. So the Blue Ocean mindset is a top mindset for business, for strategy, for creation, and for value creation in the world. So this is not something, and it's a hard process to master. It took me about 11 years plus what I did on my own. So it takes quite a long time to be able to master it. It's very much like coaching, to get to that simplicity and to be able to see, to reveal those things that are hidden for most of the views with a simplicity and elegance. It takes time. So I'm happy to say that now this really the warranty here is in the process, and if you do the work. I mean, if you don't do the work, you're not going to get the benefits of the process. And in participation, there is a clause. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be participating. We may be just one team, one large team or 2 teams, but the teammates could vote you out. If you are someone who just show up, don't do the work, you can be voted out by your team, because that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes, the program. And after the first workshop, you can get a full withdrawal from the program. If you find after the first workshop that this is not for you, you can withdraw and get you get full refund for the program. It's a tough program. It's a very tough program. Actually, it is designed to have, because I want to have people that are truly committed and who have the ability, but also the commitment. It's for them. It's for a very few. It's not this program is not for everybody. It's not for the whole. I don't want to have 50 people, 30 people. I can only have 10 people and be the best team, and that's fine, because the next program is going to be in a different industry. Solopreneur, which sounds actually better than a freelancer. Freelancer is more of a, it's like a bulk, like a category. But solopreneur, because we are all actually solopreneurs. This it's very hard to design, to go this kind of process, and the kind of questioning and the probing and the inquiries that we'll be going through. And the reach, I mean, the kind of research that's going to be involved and that's going to be cumulative from everybody involved, it's just impossible to do by oneself. It's just impossible to do by oneself. And even teams, even companies that want to do it, can't do it. So this is an extraordinary thing to have, because you have the commitment, the dedication, and each one of you has a stake in the matter. It's not like, oh, I'm taking a workshop, I'm taking a course, it might be interesting, I get a new diploma, I can say at the end something. No. This is a hardcore, this is a hardcore work, but fun work. Thank you. Well, that's all for today.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank you very much.
joining us in this meeting. And
thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll keep in touch, and thank you all for your contribution to today.